So today, and I've been made fun of a lot for this topic, by the way, just want you to know that. So you can tell everybody how right they were when they said all you have to do is hit the archive button. But we're going to talk about hacking your personal workflow. And first I want to start by telling you how I wake up in the morning and how I end every day, okay? So every morning I wake up and I have probably 50 messages in my inbox from all around the world, right? I have spam messages, I have requests, I have, I almost said AOL Instant Messenger messages. I have Facebook messages, right? Have all of these communications waiting for me when I get up in the morning. And every single day, I end the day with 0 messages in my inbox and 0 messages on Facebook, right? And it's not because I hit archive, right? It's not because, what did somebody else say? Oh, I marked them all unread. That's not the case either, right? It's because I do some things that help me to keep up with the day-to-day grind that we all go through, right? No matter what business you're in, you have communications, you have things that you need to do on a daily basis, and I clear all of those out every night. And for the most part, I communicate with every single person that contacts me within 24 hours. And it's insane. Now, Dustin's looking at me and he's like, dude, I've sent you emails before and that's not the case. Sometimes I screw it up, okay? But this in general is the system that I go through to make things happen. And when I do, right, at the end of the night, when I end the day with inbox 0, I feel fantastic. Right? When I don't do that, I'm sitting at dinner, I'm thinking, geez, I really needed to get back to this one person. Right? I really needed to communicate with somebody. I really needed to give somebody an answer that I didn't give them. But when I end at inbox 0, I feel amazing, right? I feel like I've communicated with everybody. I've at least given people an idea of where they stand, what was important to me on my schedule and where they fit into that. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. There's going to be some repetition. There's going to be some audience interaction. Don't worry, it's nothing insane. It's just answering a few questions. But we're going to go through an exercise and see how other people do this, and then bring this down to the level where we're all at in our personal workflows and how we can learn from other types of organizations and how they organize the chaos. So I'm going to teach you how to achieve inbox 0 nirvana, but first, let's play a game. This is where the audience participation comes in, by the way. All right, so who knows what this is? Anybody? Anybody know what this building is? I'll give you a hint. It's really, really old. Does that help? All right, another hint. There's a lot of stuff stored there. It's Smithsonian. Who said that? Yeah, all right. So this is the Smithsonian Institution, right? Okay, this one. What is this? Close to Library of Congress. There you go. Library of Congress. And then, does anybody know what this is? So, this is a trick question. This is the library in my hometown, Council Bluffs, Iowa. All right, and so the question is, what do all of these things have in common, right? What's similar between all of them? They organize everything, right? They organize everything. They do it with card catalogs. They do it with organizing different pieces that they get from people, contributions to their libraries and things like that. They organize absolutely everything. So we're going to talk about the Smithsonian for a little bit because I think the Smithsonian is awesome. So here are some facts. Fact number 1, the Smithsonian has 19 member museums. That doesn't include other buildings that they manage. They also manage a zoo and things like that. But they have 19 member museums. All right? And they also manage 138 million artifacts. Now, all of those aren't in the museums. Some of those are in storage and things like that. They manage 138 million artifacts. Next, they acquire thousands of artifacts and contributions every single year. So people are continuously sending them more stuff, right? In fact, the Smithsonian is called the United States Attic because everybody just sends their stuff there, right? And so those are great facts, right? But what does any of this have to do with our workflow? So fact number one, let's kind of map this out, right? So we have 19 museums. Good, they showed up. 19 museums right there. Next, 138 million artifacts. We'll see them right there. I made them in squares. There aren't 138 million there, by the way. I don't even know that there are 138 squares, so don't count them. And the last, the Smithsonian acquires thousands of objects or specimens each year, and I attributed circles to those, okay? So you can see that we go from thousands of contributions into this pool of 138 million artifacts and then deployed to 19 museums. This is crazy if you think about it, right? They're getting thousands and thousands of things, little pieces, right? They could be like little rocks, or they could be electronic communications, whatever it is, songs. Those things are going into this huge thing of 138 million artifacts, and people have to figure out how they're going to either deploy these things to current collections, create new collections, deploy new displays out to museums, or put them in storage, and then they have to know how to get back to them, right? Some classification system to get back to those particular artifacts. All right, so how do museums manage this randomness? You guys still with me? Museums, randomness, managing. All right, so they receive things, right? That's clear. They bring in thousands of things. They evaluate, they sort, they catalog. They take action, they move them to a museum or to storage or something like that, right? And then they complete. They communicate, right? They're going to communicate with the museum, they're going to do a change order, they're going to send a message back to the person that sent the artifact, and they're going to say, hey, thank you for sending the artifact, or we can't use this, this is junk, we're sending it back. And so I like to think of this in my own life with this word. And I think of it like, you know, you attack something. Well, with inbox 0, I retack things. Anybody? Nobody? Nothing? You didn't have to laugh. I appreciate it, but you didn't have to laugh. Retack, receive, evaluate, take action, complete. We're going to, this is going to come up more than once as we go along. And by the way, there's going to be some procedure in here that I'm going to be teaching you about, and some tools that I'm going to be giving you, and these slides will be available so that you'll be able to pull them back out without having to write things down. So you can just kind of look and watch. All right, so here's the reality. You're the curator, right? You're the curator of your own museum of emails, of communications, of actions, of things that you need to do to get things done in your world. And so this is the same map, right? Except this is with your daily tasks, right? So you get messages and requests. Those turn into pending tasks, right? And you have a huge pool of those. Usually you do, right? Because you have lots of projects and things like that. And then you have clients or projects over here. And you have to deploy those tasks or apply those tasks to the projects, right? And that's not an easy thing to do because you have to decide when, where, how you're going to send those things over there. So you have to manage the randomness, in fact. So can you guys guess how we're going to do this? We're going to receive, right? Email, phone, social, things like that. We're going to evaluate and curate. We're going to decide what the priority is. And then we're going to stash these communications in a place where we can easily take action on them. Instead of them sitting in our inbox where we just get scared every single day because we're using that as a task list, right? Because if you have an inbox like that, every time you open up your email, you're frightened, right? I don't want to open up that email, right? I don't want to see those numbers on my iPhone or my Android that say that I have 2,763 emails. That's crazy. And then you're gonna take action, right? Easy enough. And then you're going to finish. You're going to communicate the results of the action. Retag. All right. So here we go. Let's start with the foundation. First thing we have to do is we have to define your classification system. And this is something that a lot of people don't do. It's really, really, really important. It allows you to understand what's important and what's not. What you're going to take action on immediately and what's not. Now, people have heard this, I'm sure, your entire life. Oh, well, you gotta decide what's high priority, right? But really determining this helps you to say no to certain things. In fact, some low priority things might not even be things that you should be focusing on. You might send a response and say, hey, listen, this isn't in my wheelhouse. This isn't something that interests me. This isn't something that I would like to be working on. So I'm deleting your email and I'm not working on this. And we can revisit later, right? Communicate with me in a week later or something like that, or a month later, or a year later, and we can have another conversation. Medium is a due date looming. Is something going to happen in the future that requires you to complete the task? High, is this a blocker, high priority? Is it support related? So at GoDaddy, support gets top priority, right? So if somebody communicates with me about a support thing, that's the top of the list, right? That's just the way it is. And then immediate, is something broken? Is a site down? Is the due date passed? Is someone else relying on you for something and they need something immediately, right? All right, so then you have to understand your inputs, right? What are you willing to accept? So email, social, Slack, Skype, messengers, phone, meetings. As I was writing this, I kept coming up with more. I could have filled this slide. Because the truth is, I get Twitter direct messages, and I get Twitter messages, and I get Skype messages, and Facebook, and then there's direct Slack, and there's regular Slack, and then there's 16 Slack groups that you're in, and you're not even sure how you got there, why in the world you're there, right? But you're there. There's phone, there's meetings. So I don't take phone calls unless it's from a friend. That's a rule of mine. Why don't I take phone calls? Because if I gave my phone number to everybody that I've seen on my journeys over 130,000 miles this year, I wouldn't have any time to stand up here and share with you all my tactics to get to inbox zero, right? So I've made a decision to say no, and by the way, it's okay to say that, right? It's perfectly acceptable to say, I'm not going to take that particular type of communication. If you'd like to get in touch, and then give that particular angle your all, right? So, and then understand your available actions. And again, this is another important thing. Where are you going to send things? And it turns out that this is one of the most important aspects of paring down your inbox, because this allows you to know exactly where you're going to send things without even thinking about it. It gets rid of some of the struggle, some of that internal struggling. Gee, what am I going to do with this, right? Am I going to reply? Am I going to send it somewhere? And I'm going to tell you about some of these tools that you may have heard the names, but you haven't actually experienced them or tried them out. So calendars, meeting invites, communications, maybe you send an email back, a phone, or a message. You need something completed, like a human completed task. So it could be getting some research or calling for reservations or something like that. And then an errand or a physical task. So maybe you need to mail something, right? Something as simple as that. How do you get that done without really lifting a finger and get that out of your inbox? So you don't do it all yourself, and that's the key. And a lot of people think you have to, and a lot of people think if you don't do it all yourself, you have to hire a really expensive personal assistant. Well, I also have another secret for you, and that is I don't have a personal assistant. Some people get calls that say, hey, I'm Mendel's personal assistant, right? And everybody's like, ooh, that's fancy, right? Mendel has a personal assistant. I don't have a personal assistant. But I've learned how to hack myself one, right? So the first tool I'm going to show you is Fancy Hands. And Fancy Hands sounds fancy, and and it's really awesome. So basically what you can do is if you have, let's say you have 2 people that you need to negotiate a meeting time with. You can send a link to your calendar, you can send an email and copy your personal assistant at Fancy Hands and those 2 people on the email, and when Fancy Hands gets that email, they will negotiate based on your calendar that meeting time. They'll negotiate it for you, and then they'll send a final email after they've put the invite on your calendar and booked the time, and they'll say, we have it all settled. Right? How long does that normally take you? That back and forth in your inbox. It normally takes a few days. Maybe if you're lucky it takes 10 minutes if you're both firing back quickly, right? And so, so this helps to solve some of those dilemmas. They can also get tickets for you. They can use your credit card and go buy concert tickets. Maybe you need a reservation for dinner for a client. You know, it's a high priority client. You don't really have time, or maybe you could spend the time doing something else. You can communicate with Fancy Hands and get it done. The other one, and I use this for everything from cleaning my house on occasion, right? When I'm back and forth, when I need to get something done and I really don't have time. You know, I got friends coming over and I want to make space in my life for my friends, and at the same time I want to get work done, so I can't clean all day. Hire these guys, okay? And it's an app, $25 per hour to have somebody clean your kitchen, right? Something like that. Or you could have them come pick up a package and take that package to wherever it needs to go, right? To UPS or something like that. So those are the tools. Let's and the foundation. Let's put Retac and the foundation together, right? And I know, guys. I see some yawns. It's kind of boring, but if you follow it, I guarantee you, your life is going to be better. Guarantee it. So receive, check inputs, right? And so what we're going to do, in my case, I'm going to check my email, my social, my Slack, and my meetings, right? My meeting requests. Then I'm going to evaluate and curate. Well, what does that mean? So I'm going to determine the best place to send the task, right? Because remember, email is communication. It's not a task list. So I'm going to figure out the best place to send it. Now, you need one point of truth, one task curation point of truth. You need to take direct action, and if there's delayed action that's needed, you need to take that task and transfer it to a thread in Trello or some other tool, and I'll show you that next. The idea here is that, again, just like getting a message on Facebook, right, or getting a phone call, you deal with that immediately, right? Normally when you get a message, you don't wait and reply a week later. The idea of that is immediate communication, and the idea of email should be very similar in my opinion. So this is Trello, and what's cool about Trello is A, it's free, B, you can forward your emails to Trello and it will automatically create a card in the ideas section. And you can name that whatever you want. I name mine incoming tasks or uncategorized tasks, right? And so that email ends up there so that then you can prioritize that and decide where you're going to put that, what action you're going to take on it if there's a delayed action needed. Okay? So we're going to go through some examples in a second, and I'll show you how this all actually works, along with some of these tools and how you can hack this together for yourself. By the way, I'm sitting with one email in my inbox right now, and it's really upsetting me. It's from yesterday. Don't judge me. So you can go, ideas, to do, doing, done. This is, if you're familiar with Agile, this is very similar to that. But this is kind of doing it for yourself, right? Your own personal workflow. All right, and then you're going to take action, right? And how do you take action? Well, again, you're going to send an email with a list of all of your availability for your calendar, or you're going to communicate back with somebody, or a human completed task or an errand or physical task, right? So we've melted these two concepts together. I'll quit beating that, and then you're going to finish and communicate the result. Now this part is really important because your ability to communicate means the difference between you being looked at as somebody that gets stuff done and being looked at as somebody that doesn't get stuff done. Right? It's all in the communication. If you keep people up to date, right? If you keep clients up to date and you let them know, hey, I'm going to get to this next Thursday. Right? And as next Thursday comes up, you say, you know what? I was planning on getting to this Thursday. However, this particular thing came up and it was high priority. Needed to take care of it, and actually this will be done Friday. Right? But if you don't communicate that at all, then you look like a jerk. You look like somebody who's not put together and they're not getting the right information to the right people at the right time. Right? So communication is key, and that happens a couple times during this process. So after you've decided on a priority, communicate the priority. If the priority is different from what the requester expects, include a statement that tells them why. That's RETAC. All right, so what does it look like? Let's talk about the change request. All right, so I get an email. It's a change order via email, and I decided that's medium priority. Right? And so I create a new Trello card with the email body. So I just forward that over to Trello. And at that very moment, I decide that I received this request from my client, and now I need to communicate that request, the response to that request back to the client. Right? So I send a message at that point, I set expectations, and then when I complete the action, which is completing the change request, then I send an email with details regarding the completed change request. Usually that comes in the form of an invoice. Right? Next example, the meeting request, the simple meeting request. All right, so you receive a meeting request and it's high priority. Right? It's from somebody that wants to give me a ton of money to build a site for them. And so I decided it's high priority and I want to schedule it now. So what do? I delete the email. Okay. I send a reply with the calendar availability link. Now, if you don't know what this is, you should go check it out. Google allows you to do this. Microsoft allows you to do this. Most email services allow you to do this. I use Microsoft Office 360 at work. And I have a link that I just sent and it has my availability. I block off my travel time, my flights, my meetings and things like that, and people can schedule immediately. That takes that work out of my hand. And it actually is much easier for the person scheduling the meeting because they're in control then of the time that they get to spend with you. So at that point then, Fancy Hands will negotiate that meeting for me. So that's the other way to do it, right? At that point, that person will take a look at the link. They'll see what the availability is. They'll send me a request for a meeting. I'll accept the meeting because I already know that it's in a time that I'm available. The dinner meeting. How many of you have done a dinner meeting before? Any of you done a dinner meeting? You need to start. It's really fun. You go out there, you hobnob. Go to a cheap place so that you're not spending too much money, but someplace that looks kind of cool so that people think that it's awesome and you're spending a lot of money. Anyway, so go to a dinner meeting, you receive a meeting request, right? Somebody says, hey, let's go out, grab a bite to eat, right? Okay, so it's high priority, I want to schedule it now. I forward the email to Fancy Hands, they book a reservation for me. They already have my calendar link, and then they send a meeting a meeting request to the requester for dinner. We eat dinner and then we close the deal. By the way, that's what happens at the end of dinner, a lot of dinners, so that's another reason why you should have dinner meetings. All right, the proofread. So it's not just for meetings, it's not just for regular tasks, it can also be for proofreading. So I blog regularly at mendel.me, and sometimes I am interested in having my own work proofread, right? Or if somebody were to have guest posts and they wanted to have their work proofread, they could send it, again, to Fancy Hands. They review the proofread stuff. They schedule the post, email the guest poster with the publish date, and it's done, right? So you've just short-tracked all of that stuff. And then the last one is the ship something task, okay? So the ship something task is a little more complicated because there are a lot of things that happen when you ship something, and it takes maybe a half an hour, right? Because you have to get everything together, you have to get the address, you have to put it in a package, you have to drive it to UPS, FedEx, whatever. Sometimes you have people coming to pick it up, but then at that point you have to stay at home or stay at the office. You have to make sure that there's a place for them to pick up the package. In this case, you receive a contact form request from somebody on your website, and they say, hey, I want stickers, right? Maybe it's iThemes. Maybe you guys get a request and it says, gee, I'd really love one of those iTheme stickers. And you say, okay, well, that's cool. I got an answer for that, right? Medium priority, add the task to Trello, and contact TaskRabbit. Send them a message. They say, hey, I need you to come pick something up for me. Oh, and by the way, I have an address here from an email, right, from the contact form. Just print it out, give it to them, and say, hey, I need to ship this to this address. Can you do it for me? Take them a half an hour. You can send a message then to the person that sent you the request through your website and say, hey, I got your request. I got stickers on the way to you. You look like a rock star. And your TaskRabbit comes, they pick the item up, they take it, they ship it, they give you confirmation, and all you have to do at that point is send a message to the requester with the tracking info. Now how slick is that, right? You've gone from being a one-person shop or a five-person shop that had this request in your email box that you were keeping there waiting for it to waiting to process it while you finally got the time to go to the UPS store or finally got the time to go to the post office, and instead you've cleared that out immediately, right? You've taken action immediately. So I have this sheet for you. It has blank information on it, right? It'll be in this presentation, so the people that were taking pictures, you can do your own. And it takes you through this process. So if there's something within your workflow that you do all the time, right, and it takes up a lot of time, try and think about it, evaluate it, and put it into this particular format, right? And of course you're not going to do this for every task, right? But this will help you to get your mind in this mindset of taking action in this particular way, and using some other tools that, yeah, might cost you a couple dollars here and there, but they're really going to save you a lot of time that you can spend closing deals, making money, doing work for clients. You too can achieve Inbox Zero Nirvana. I promise you it can happen, it will happen. And I'm Mendel, at If You Will It. And again, blog regularly at mendel.me, and that's where these slides will be a little bit later. Thanks a lot, everybody.